Spirit Airlines had 12 hours to find $100 million or shut down forever.
Spirit Airlines is cutting flights, shrinking staff, and facing public predictions that it may not survive for too much longer.
Spirit Airlines says it might not survive unless it raises cash quickly. This comes right after the Logan carrier emerged from bankruptcy protection.
December 13th, 2025. Holiday travelers were boarding planes that might never take off again. This is how America's most hated airline filed for bankruptcy twice in 1 year. December 12th, 2025, 11:59 p.m. While 3,000 holiday travelers were double-checking their boarding passes and hunting for a Cinnabon, the executives at Spirit Airlines were hunting for a ghost, specifically a $100 million ghost. They had until Saturday morning to find the cash, or the yellow planes would be legally grounded forever. 7 different airline CEOs were already on the phone, sketching out rescue missions for the chaos Spirit was about to leave behind. Spirit's official line? Business as usual. The reality? They were hours away from a total system blackout. But how did we get here? This is an airline that at its peak was worth billions. It was the budget king that forced the entire industry to change how they did business. Today, it trades for 20 cents. A share of Spirit costs less than a gumball. To understand the collapse of the most hated and most flown budget airline in America, we have to look past the memes. There isn't just one reason Spirit is falling. There are 4. And the first one? It was a rescue that turned into an execution. To understand the fall, you have to understand the bet. By 2022, Spirit knew it was in trouble. Costs were rising, and the post-pandemic recovery wasn't hitting their bottom line. They needed a savior. Enter JetBlue. In July 2022, JetBlue announced a $3.8 billion takeover bid. For Spirit, this was the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card. JetBlue would absorb their debt, take over their planes, and Spirit's shareholders would walk away with a massive payday. But there was a problem: the DOJ. The DOJ sued to block the merger, claiming that removing Spirit from the market would hurt the ultra-low-cost traveler. They argued that Spirit was the only thing keeping prices down. The irony: the DOJ won the case. In January 2024, a federal judge blocked the deal. Spirit's stock plummeted 47% in a single day. By saving the competition, the government effectively trapped Spirit in a room with no exits in a mountain of debt. JetBlue walked away with a $69 million breakup fee, and Spirit was left alone on a sinking ship with no plan B. The DOJ didn't save the budget traveler. They left the budget carrier to die alone. If the failed merger was the heart attack, the engine scandal was the slow-acting poison. You can't make money in the airline business if your planes are expensive paperweights. In 2023, Spirit's fleet was hit by a disaster they didn't see coming: Pratt & Whitney engine failures, specifically the geared fan turbines on their brand-new Airbus A320neo jets. These weren't old planes. These were the future of the company. Suddenly, Spirit had to ground dozens of aircraft. At one point, 26 planes, nearly 15% of their entire fleet, were sitting in hangars gathering dust because their engines were literally falling apart. For a massive carrier like Delta or United, that's a logistical headache. For a low-cost carrier like Spirit, where every minute a plane isn't in the air is money lost, it was a catastrophe. Spirit was losing an estimated $3 million a day just waiting for parts that never came. They were paying for the planes, paying for the gates, and paying for pilots who had nothing to fly. Here's the crazy part: Pratt & Whitney knew these engines had issues before Spirit even bought the planes. They sold them anyway. Spirit sued them for $1 billion. They're still in court. By the time Pratt & Whitney agreed to a compensation deal, the damage was done. The yellow planes weren't just grounded, they were bleeding the company dry. For a decade, Spirit had a monopoly on misery. They were the only ones willing to sell a bare fare for $40 and then charge you for everything else: water, bags, even printing a boarding pass. But then, the big 3, United, Delta, and American, stopped laughing at Spirit and started fighting them. They introduced basic economy. This was a strategic execution. The major carriers used their massive scale to match Spirit's prices on their most popular routes. Suddenly, a traveler looking for a cheap flight from New York to Florida had a choice. They could fly Spirit, or for the exact same price, they could fly Delta. Delta offered more legroom, better reliability, and a massive network of backup planes if something went wrong. Spirit's only competitive advantage, being the cheapest, was gone. Within a year of basic economy launching, Spirit lost 23% of its market share on competitive routes. They were bleeding passengers to carriers that offered the same price with better service. When the budget option costs the same as the luxury option, the budget option loses every time. Spirit wasn't just losing a price war, they were being bullied out of their own backyard. You know Chapter 11 bankruptcy? That's when companies restructure their debt to survive. Well, there's a dark joke in finance about Chapter 22. That's when you file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy twice. Spirit just did that.
Spirit Airlines plans to furlough a third of its flight attendants to cut costs. That's about 1,800 employees. The airline's working its way through its second bankruptcy in less than a year.
Spirit filed for its first bankruptcy in November 2024. They cut $795 million in debt, fired 1,800 flight attendants, and closed bases from Atlantic City to Houston. But here's the truth. You cannot shrink your way to success in the airline business. An airline's value is in its network. Every time Spirit cuts a route or sells a gate to stay alive, they become less useful to the traveler. By mid-2025, they were filing again, bankruptcy number 2. They were losing $3 million a day. They started charging for premium snacks and go-big seating, a desperate attempt to act like a legacy carrier after years of being a budget one. But the spiral was in full effect. To pay the interest on their debt, they had to sell their planes. To sell their planes, they had to cut their flights. To cut their flights, they had to lose their customers. By December 2025, they had cut nearly 30% of their total capacity. At what point do you stop being an airline and start being a fire sale? Which brings us back to that midnight deadline on December 13th. Spirit managed to scrape together $50 million from their creditors to survive the weekend, but it's a temporary bandage for a gashing wound. Now the rumors are flying that Frontier Airlines, the same company Spirit rejected back in 2022, might be coming back to pick through the wreckage. But this time, it isn't a merger of equals. Spirit has no leverage. Their stock is at 20 cents. Their pilots are taking pay cuts that won't be restored until 2029. If Spirit dies, the big guys win. Competition vanishes, and those low fares the DOJ tried to protect, they will disappear. Spirit Airlines might be the most hated brand in the sky, but they were the only thing keeping the big three honest. The yellow planes are still flying from now. You can still book a flight for $39, but the brief on Spirit is clear. They didn't just run out of money, they ran out of options. Here's my question. The DOJ blocked the JetBlue merger to protect low fares, but if Spirit dies, won't fares just go up anyway? Did the government accidentally kill the thing they were trying to save? Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching.